Welcome back to Holly's Garage, where today we will transform this old Dixie dresser and give her the makeover she deserves. As you can see, there's a decent sized chunk taken out of the corner. Not really sure what happened there, but otherwise there was no major damage, but still a lot of small dents and dings. I'm gonna say it, this thing had really good bones. How sick are you of hearing that? Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do before I even take off the handles, wash this thing, is address this flappy veneer. So I'm using, what is this? Super glue. I find it helps to squeeze the glue onto something else and apply it that way, and I'm just using a small spatula. Now I just turn the glue around and use the butt of the bottle with a decent amount of pressure to help it cement into place. Slap some tape on there, and let's remove the hardware. Oh, I hate these ones. Next is cleaning, and for this I'm using Simple Green. This is pretty strong stuff for being an eco-friendly product, so you do want to rinse it off with some clean water when you're done. Could just be swollen. Now, normally after everything's clean, I'll go in with an orbital sander to do a little scuff sanding, but this time I had to pull out my detail sander instead because my normal sander wouldn't fit inside the trim. Just one of those tools you don't really think you need until you do. So for the top, I knew there was a chance that I wanted to show off that wood. So for that, I did take an orbital sander to it to see how easily it came off. It came right off, so I was pretty stoked that I wouldn't have to pull out the stripper.
Holy cow, I'm dirty.
Now, fixing damage is definitely the step that takes the longest for us, even if it looks like there's not much to fix. I feel like it's one of the more glossed over parts of refinishing furniture, because, well, it's boring. But I think that when you take the time to really zone in on fixing imperfections, your finished product will look 100 times better. I'm switching over to Bondo for the holes, because it's really strong, and the hole goes right through, so I need it to be a really solid repair. Remember this corner, I filled it with Bondo as well to give the soft particle board inside a bit of structure. I wasn't sure if glue was going to be able to stick to Bondo, so to help it, I grabbed a steel brush and started scoring it, kind of like what you would do with clay. The Bondo ended up being too strong even for that, so we changed course and started hacking at it with a knife. I'm gonna do a veneer patch, so I'm evening out this jagged edge.
Don't feel so hard to go over it a long time.
So whenever you're gluing something together, you do want to see that squeeze out because that means that glue is making contact with the whole surface. So when you see squeeze out, you're good, and then you can just wipe it out with a wet towel. And I gotta rub it in for extra stickage. Just a side note, I'm using the wrong veneer. I only had Walnut on hand, which this dresser definitely wasn't, but I'm hoping that my stain will just even out the mismatched wood tone. This is the wood repair. Little bit of veneer sand through, courtesy of myself. Some weird shit happening over here, but those are problems for another time. Oh, your head's in the way now. So I've been using the same roll of brown paper ever since I started doing furniture like 2 years ago, and I've probably only used about a quarter of it. Even reuse it sometimes if it fits my project, so it's a pretty affordable way to mask off your furniture. So after all that prep work is done, it's finally time to put on our first coat of primer. So we just primed. Take a look though. Disgusting. Using this Bondo glazing putty today. It spreads really easy and it sands really well too. Now let's fill it. Just wanted to say that it was pretty warm out when I was doing this, so the red Bondo dried too fast on us, and it was actually harder to spread than normal wood filler, so we switched back. Now, filling in all the cracks was the most tedious part of the project because all of it had to be hand sanded in order to get as close as possible to the trim. There was just too much happening between all the filler and the bleed through that we just decided to prime it again. It is time to paint. We are mixing up a medium darkish gray tone green in our spray cup, straining it and diluting it with a bit of water to help it spray better. Not really sure what's happening to my spray. It's honestly been acting up a little bit for me recently. Not sure if I'm not cleaning it well enough or what's going on, but just know that I know it's a bad spray. But it actually dried down better than I expected, so I could have been overreacting. And while that was drying, I did my one good deed of the year and rescued a sad bumblebee.
He doesn't like it.
Come on, buddy.
He's here. Here she goes. I don't think he has the strength. Oh, he does. He does. He's been saved.
It's just a couple spots that I missed. Just gonna go over these areas, and then also this shows a little bit when the drawers are in, so I'm gonna get this slat as well. Now I'm finishing up with the body with some polyurethane to protect the paint. This is actually tinted to the paint color, and we just did that by pouring the poly in with whatever paint was left in the gun. Okay, so this is where we're at. We've got a couple coats of poly on there, and so now it's time to move on to the handles. But I don't know if you can tell, from first glance, all these drawers look exactly the same, like dimensions, but these two up top are actually not as tall, and it's, I don't know, I only found that out because I was rearranging them and then noticed there was a huge gap. So yeah, check your drawers. I'm installing the hardware now. A couple important tools you want to have whenever you're doing hardware. The first is a speed square, so you can get really accurate with the placement of your holes. And next is a scratch awl to punch a little hole where you're drilling. This way there's a little dip for your drill bit to sit inside securely so it doesn't run away from you. I'm giving the top a final sand with 180, just a nice smooth pass to prep it for my stain. Okay. Stain this with Walnut. Now using Saman water-based stain in Walnut, I'm gonna lightly mist the surface wet with some water to create a slip coat since this stain does dry pretty quickly and I don't want it getting patchy on me. And I used to use shop towels to remove the excess product, but I find that a rag is way more absorbent and makes your stain come out a little more evenly. And finally, Kendall's going in now with some oil-based spray polyurethane to protect the top, and just look at how pretty that color changes with the poly on it. You can use a water-based poly too, but I find that on wood surfaces, an oil-based product makes the wood look more nourished.
Do one more go. Right here you missed it.
After that, it's just time for a couple quick detail touch-ups with some of that stain I was using earlier just to hide the spots where I sanded through the veneer. And after moving it inside, I gave it a light coat of feed and wax to give the top a bit of shine. And just like that, we've transformed this sad orange dresser with the broken top and cracked trim all around into such a stunning and new looking piece of furniture. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe and I will see you next time here on Holly's Garage. If you're curious about what I used to create this look, all tools and products will be linked below.